Hey, joining us now, right from Richmond in the State House, is Delegate Scott Garrett. He's a Republican from the 23rd District. That's part of Amherst, Bedford, and Lynchburg. Hey, Delegate Garrett, great to have you with us.
Hey, good morning, John. Great to be with you and your listeners, sir.
Now, I know you guys got the short session. It's breathtaking, isn't it? I mean, there's so much stuff going on.
One of the challenges, John, we have, this is probably the most frenetic pace that I've seen since I was first elected in 2010, and that's including my first year when I was drinking water from a fire hose. And I think the biggest part of that is because we have yet to hear from our governor what his true purpose is. He really is trying to, in his zeal to be all things for all people at all times, it's really creating some challenges. Richmond works best when we have a focus, and we focus on that, and we're, I think, working through some of those issues this year.
What is the one thing that has, you've been there since 2010, Delegate Garrett, what is the one thing that has frustrated you about this governor the most?
You know, I think it's just that. It's trying to understand and trying to clarify his purpose. He's a very engaging guy.
Yes.
Terry McAuliffe is a very interesting guy. If you saw him in the street, you'd say, hey, he's a pretty neat guy.
Yes.
The challenge is that's not how Richmond works. We work best when we have binomial decisions, either yes or no. Scott, are you either for or against raising the speed limit from 55 to 60? That way there's transparency. Our folks back home understand what where our values are, and that we're in fact living by those values. And I think that's the challenge we have is in that arena. And it fundamentally comes down to trust, John. It's all about trust.
Okay, so we had Governor McAuliffe on our show on Wednesday, and he is very engaging. But one thing you got to give credit to him for, Delegate Garrett, is, I mean, he's a great salesman, and he's been tireless in going around the United States and then also internationally and trying to bring businesses into Virginia.
And I respect that, and I appreciate that, and I look forward to actually seeing those jobs materialize. You know, it's critically important for our economy. We're a little bit blessed. It seems like we're beginning to come out of this recession, both nationally and statewide. Here in Virginia, our revenues are up about 6.8% year to date, and we had only forecasted about a 3.1% increase. So those are good news. We will continue to focus, having said that, on putting together and crafting a very balanced budget moving forward so that we make sure that we look after our taxpayers back home. Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that you guys pointed out the other day, Delegate Garrett, in the House, is that trying to roll back like $10 million in fees. Can you share with our audience how that works?
Surely. So what I spoke with on the floor this week was there are 5 fees that the governor had introduced in his amendments that we just don't at all agree with. One was increasing the restaurant inspection fees. This will hurt a lot of our small business owners and our restaurants, and those fees, again, are just passed on to those that utilize the restaurants. That's about $6.9 million the governor had asked for. The Department of Agriculture has a tiered fee system, and those are fees that are charged when you eat at non-restaurants. Say as if you went and had a sandwich or something over at Martin's grocery store or something like that. That's about $400,000 a year. He had a new fee increase on tobacco stamps, about $250,000 a year. He wanted to increase the deductible for underground waste storage cleanup. So if you have an oil tank outside of your home, and most of our homes, particularly in rural Virginia, out my way, a lot of those homes prior to electrification of Virginia were heated by coal or by heating oil. There's a lot of oil tanks out there, and they're 40, 50, 60 years old, and they'll begin to leak and have problems. When they do, currently, your expense is limited to $500, and there's a state fund that covers the rest of that expense, typically $6,000 to $8,000. The governor, for some reason, wanted to increase that 5-fold, that deductible, and so that your direct cost would be $2,500, a huge imposition to these folks. And finally, a fee which I just sort of struggle with is this weights and measures fee. And people say, well, who cares about weights and measures, Scott? Well, We all do. When you go to the grocery store and you go to the deli and you purchase some cold cuts or whatever, and they weigh them on a machine. When you go to the checkout line with your bananas and you put them on the weighing machine there, each of those devices, each device under Governor McAuliffe's proposal would have cost that facility an additional $10 a year. That was projected to raise almost $1 million a year. So aggregating those 5 fees alone, a little over $10 million in fees that we will be eliminating in our budget proposal, which will come out this Sunday.
Now, in Terry McAuliffe's budget proposal, and we kind of talked about this a little bit when I had him on Wednesday, is he's got a provision in there for a hospital provider tax. I think he's calling it a fee or something, but it's a $1 billion hospital provider tax. I would think coming to the House, that would be dead in the water, right?
Well, John, I'm a general surgeon from Lynchburg, so I've been working in healthcare now for over 30 years. And I think the governor, when he was speaking with you, he was talking about the efforts he had last year for Medicaid expansion. He said this was, I think his words, one way in which we can try to make our hospitals stronger. And then this year, he introduces, out of the blue, a 6% on revenues taxation on our hospitals. And 6% of their gross revenues, that's about $1 billion a year of new taxes on our hospitals. In his effort to make them stronger, he's going to take $1 billion a year away from their gross revenues. He has nothing in his budget about what he intends to do with that new $1 billion a year taxation on our hospitals. You tax our hospitals, you tax our people. Our hospitals, we have 37 rural hospitals around the Commonwealth. Each of those hospitals is the largest, if not the largest, certainly one of the largest employers in those communities. That is a clarion call for a direct challenge to the economic underpinnings of economic strength of those communities.
And the tax, as he's presented it, is a 6% tax on top-line revenue, not on profit, just top-line revenue. And basically now the way it works is some hospitals would get some of that back from the federal government, but basically rural hospitals don't have the patient density, so they're going to get hammered the way I look at it, right? I
would think so as well. We don't have a lot of details on that, but it certainly strikes me it's absolutely the wrong message. You know, John, when I first came to Richmond, I tried to grasp how do we actually do the right thing with our state finances, taxes, fees, and so forth. And I quickly realized that if you want more of something, then give an incentive, tax credits, tax preferences, and we've seen legislation for that end. If you want less of something, tax it or put a fee to it. So if you're taxing our hospitals or you're putting these fees on our restaurants, on all of Virginians with their commercial efforts every day at the gas pump, when you are putting those taxes and fees on our people, you are making a clear call that you want less of that economic activity. This is not the time for us to be looking at less economic activity. I appreciate the governor is out trying to bring all these jobs to Virginia. I very much look forward to when those jobs actually begin to materialize.
Delegate Garrett, I want to get to the Mountain Valley Pipeline for a second. Those of us that believe in the energy needs of the state of Virginia, we need natural gas for energy. You either got to pipe it, truck it, train. A lot of people like me believe that the Mountain Valley Pipeline, if we could find a way to make that work, would attract manufacturing jobs into Virginia, build job growth, lower energy. How do you stand on that?
Well, John, I've not really spent a lot of time looking into that particular project and the economics or the where-tos and why-fors. But these are incontrovertible facts. 40% of the electricity, of the baseload electricity in our Commonwealth comes from coal, about 20% from nuclear. The vast majority of the rest comes from natural gas. Natural gas is relatively inexpensive. It is a cheap way to provide electricity. We need to be focused on the entire package of how we can most efficiently provide electricity for our consumers and for our businesses. It is the lifeblood of our economy. This is certainly one proposal. I look forward to seeing some of the specifics as it comes forward.
Okay, Delegate, when are we going to get serious ethics reform?
So we are actually working this year, John, on exactly that. I think the House of Delegates, and I'm sure the Virginia Senate as well, have heard loud and clear that folks are very concerned and they're frustrated. And again, I think it comes back to my bottom line, which is trust. And can we, in fact, trust each other in our relationships, all relationships across the board? Mm-hmm. Last year, we worked pretty hard to put together a reform package to address these specific issues, and then with the further work at the federal level in prosecuting a man who I hold in greatest esteem, and that's our Governor Bob McDonnell, former mm-hmm. Governor Bob McDonnell. Mm-hmm. I think that showed it put even more light onto the subject that perhaps we hadn't gone far enough. This year, the House proposal is to further lower a limit of to about $100 of gifts that are granted to different legislators, but also a much more robust reporting fashion in which we keep track of all of those gifts that are and opportunities that different corporations or different institutional enrichment folks will introduce. So I think it's walking the right path. We need to reaffirm trust in all folks, not just in our local, state, and federal legislators, but in all of our relationships. And this is one small step along that path.
Now, Delegate Garrett, Terry McAuliffe, as part of Essex, the ethics debate, has asked for kind of an independent commission to investigate allegations of wrongdoing, put a little teeth in it. Some Republicans in the House have chafed at that. What say you?
Well, one of the challenges, John, is in this word nonpartisan or bipartisan or independent. I'm not so sure that I've found too many folks that truly are nonpartisan. You can make an equally bipartisan commission or group or oversight function. One of the challenges, I think, as I have listened to the pros and cons in this particular debate, is how do we create a commission that will have the proper amount of teeth, a commission that will hold people's feet to the fire, because that's what we the people need to affirm trust or to better affirm trust, and yet at the same time not so empower a group of unelected individuals that we don't have, we the people don't have electoral control over. How do we so keep from empowering them such that they are using perhaps some nefarious reasons to further investigate or even prosecute someone who is not doing anything intentionally wrong? So that there's still a lot of issues circling around that. I'm not so sure yet. I know what the final outcome's going to be, so we'll keep working with it.
In a word, Delegate, we got about a minute and a half. What is your number one priority now?
Balanced budget. 2 words, balanced budget. We have a constitutional requirement to have a balanced budget. We will be looking at trying to tweak that budget a bit, particularly given, again, a little bit more promising economic news coming forward. We will be protecting the number one economy of Southwest Virginia, and that's our coal folks. We will not be making further cuts to our education folks. In fact, hopefully we'll be getting some salary increases and some opportunities for our teachers going forward. And again, we're looking at a significant pay raise for our state employees and for our state-supported local employees, including our teachers. So I'm very focused on our budget this year, John.
Okay, that's going to be the final word. We want to thank Republican Delegate from the 23rd District, Delegate Scott Garrett, for being with us. He's a surgeon, 3 decades. Great to have you with us, Scott.